Well, hey y'all, and welcome to the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. I'm Susan, your hostess, and we are joining in on the Chili Fest 23, hosted by Luann at Blackberry Rock Homestead. This is an open collaboration, and I am super excited to be a part of this. So thank you very much, Luann, for inviting me to come along. I pulled out my Ball Complete Book of Canning because I want to can chili with beans. Well, lo and behold, there is no recipe in here for chili with beans. There is a chili recipe in here, but it does not include beans. It does include the meat, and it is 75 minutes for pints and 90 minutes for quarts without the beans. So, can I can with the beans? That's the question. Well, I went online, and every recipe I looked at for canning chili with beans called for 5 pounds of hamburger meat. It's just me and my husband, so I was like, no, we're not going to do 5 pounds of ground beef in a chili. So anyway, I'm going to can my own recipe. I've done some adjustments, but you can look at the original recipe up here. I'll link it in right up here, and I also put it in the description box below in case you want to make the chili without canning it. So this is a test run. Let me tell you very quickly what is going into this chili, and then we're going to get into the kitchen and start my canning adventures. This is going to take 1 pound of ground beef, 2 cups of onion chopped, 1 bell pepper or 1 cup of bell pepper chopped, 1 tablespoon of Tony Cachere's Creole seasoning, 2 tablespoons of minced garlic, 2 tablespoons of my cowboy candy marinade, which is off of my minced cowboy candy, and 3 to 3.5 cups of dry beans that has been partially cooked, not completely cooked, so about 2/3 of the way cooked. The recipe will make approximately 13 pints of home canned chili. That's my hope. I'm going to have my beans cooked. I'm using black beans, Great Northern beans, and pinto beans in this recipe, but you can use any bean that you decide to use. You're going to fill your jars 2/3 full with the bean mixture after you've put it into the liquid part, and you are going to leave about 1/3 of that jar available for liquids to go in there because those beans are going to continue to cook and expand. You're going to debubble, then you're going to backfill the liquid to the 1-inch headspace. You're going to apply your lids and your bands to finger tight. You're going to get them into your canner so everything's hot. You're going to have hot chili, hot jars, and a hot canner. Let's get in there. I have 3 cups of mixed beans in my Ninja. They will cook for 15 minutes. It'll be al dente. You see me putting some olive oil into the stock pot. I'm using an organic 1 pound of ground beef. You can use sirloin, chopped sirloin. You can use any number of beef products or chicken in this recipe. And I usually take my knife and open my package up, or a pair of scissors. And I'm just going to drop this into the pot. I haven't even heated the pot yet, but I want to get it in the pot. And we'll start showing you what I'm doing inside this pot. I've also added 2 cups of chopped onions and a cup of bell peppers. And this will saute together, and I will add in some other ingredients. I've got my meat and my bell peppers and onions in the stock pot, and I'm also still working on the beans. The beans will be partially cooked, and I use Tony Cachere's Creole seasoning, and I have measured out 1 tablespoon of this seasoning. I've also measured out 2 tablespoons of crushed garlic or minced garlic. And I'm going to be using some of my home canned crushed tomatoes stewed tomatoes, and a little bit of this cowboy candy marinade. Now this is left over from me making cowboy candy in 2021. It's still good. It's got some of the jalapenos in here, so we're going to use some of that to make this chili just a little bit hotter, because that's the way we like it. Now you don't have to add this if you don't want to, but we kind of like it in there, so we're going to add it. I've measured out 2 tablespoons of the cowboy candy marinade in with my garlic. My meat, onions, and bell peppers are just about ready for me to start adding other ingredients. So you're going to see that here in just a second. And y'all pardon all the steam coming off of my pot. I'm adding in my tomatoes. That's 2 quarts of tomatoes and some 1 pint of stewed tomatoes that are home canned. And I'm going to stir that, and then I'm going to add in the rest of my seasoning. Y'all, I'm also going to add in 2 cans of low sodium tomato sauce. These are 15-ounce cans because I don't have any canned on my shelves. So we're going to get that done real quick. I almost forgot about this. I've never canned my homemade chili, y'all, so this is going to be an experiment, but I think it's going to turn out just fine. Alright, I had a change of plans. I have mixed in enough beans, I think, to do my 9 pints. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and fill these up. And then I'll backfill it with some more liquid. I want about 2/3 of this filled with beans, because the beans are going to continue to expand. Alright, so I'm just going to try to grab as much liquid as I possibly can and backfill these. And whatever's left over we'll just eat, or I will I'll put it off and I'll can it another day. Because these beans are going to absorb a lot of this liquid. When I open my cans up, I may have to add some tomato sauce to them. And my canner only holds 9 pints, so this is just a trial run on this recipe. I would tell everybody, do your own research before you try any recipe. My kitchen, my rules. But I think this is going to be perfect. I'm going to just double check. I need a little bit more liquid in each one of these jars, it looks like. Oh, I can't do it that way. And that looks good. Now I'm going to clean the rims of my jars. I want to make sure I get all the debris off of it. I don't want anything causing my seal not to seal. I'm going to head and band this. I got my flat on there. I do 4 fingers to center my lid. Then I use 1 finger on the top when I drop the band to keep it from moving out of place. I tighten it down and then I will 3-finger tighten it. We're going to move on to the next jar. And I'm making sure that I got that top of that jar clean. Three-finger tighten, and into the canner it goes. We'll be back when I get all of these sealed and into the canner. Okay, I've got 9 pints of my homemade chili in the canner. The remaining will probably be tonight's supper, or I may decide to can it tomorrow. Okay, I checked the vent pipe, made sure that there was no debris in it. My gasket has been greased and my lid is applied. When I see steam coming out of this vent up here, I will time my timer for 10 minutes. This button should pop up when I put the weight on, and when it starts jiggling, we'll time it for 75 minutes for pints. Alright, y'all. It's been 10 minutes, and they are starting to pop. The lids are starting to pop, and there's my chili. Y'all, it looks beautiful. That's going to be a wonderful chili on our shelf. I'm so excited. And there we go, folks. We have chili, pantry stable chili. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, my canning adventure led to canning success on this recipe. I do believe that we are going to enjoy this for years to come. Now, a few notes about doing what I did. You want to find a recipe. If you come across a recipe that you want to can, and it calls for any kind of flour or rice or noodles or starch, you want to omit those ingredients. You want to use the highest cooking time or pressure canning time for the item that has the most pressure canning time. In my case, it is the beef that I added to the beans. So I know it was safe to can beans with meat, and that's 75 minutes. So I knew that this recipe was going to be a safe recipe because all of the ingredients, the tomatoes, the bell peppers, the onions, all the vegetables that was put into this are able to be canned. So you want to think about that. I used pints for a purpose. First of all, I don't want anybody getting sick. And if it was a failed recipe, I wasn't losing that much product to begin with. But I did not think it was going to fail. And so I trust my instincts to a point. Now that is a bit of rebel canning with doing this. However, every recipe that has ever been put into one of these books was tried at one point or another. And there are a lot of rebel canners out there that can teach you a lot of things that we may not get from our standard ball canning books or those 4-letter government agency books. So just know that you don't want to try something unless you know that it is proven safe. And I knew from the beginning that you could can chili beans by themselves. I knew you could can the chili with meat without the beans by itself. So both of those would be a safe method. There are recipes out there from approved sources that would can a chili and meat, chili beans with meat, but they called for 5 pounds of ground beef, and I knew that we wouldn't want to waste 5 pounds of meat and have a ton of jars of chili on our shelf. So I cut back on the amount of meat, which isn't going to hurt the recipe at all. I'm still doing it for the full 75 minutes of pressure canning time. So this was a canning success. I'm super, super excited. Thank you so much, Luann, for doing this Chili Fest 23. I had to think for a second. Chili Fest 23, and including me in it. And I hope you don't mind that I've been a bit of a rebel on this recipe. But I knew it was a safe recipe, and I knew that it was going to be a success. So this is another one to mark down in my books, and I'm going to save the recipe. I'm actually going to write it in the description box below this video for anybody that wants to attempt it. Just know that I followed the proper canning time and the pressure on my canner for the recipe that I put together. And it is a recipe that I have used for years and years and years, but I never canned it. And I wanted it on my shelf to be shelf stable. Now, if you don't want to do the recipe for canning, you can follow the recipe that was linked. It will be in the description box below also. It's got a couple more ingredients, and you will get a good product, I promise you. Thank you, friends, for coming along with me on this canning adventure. Thank you for all the new friends and the friends that have been here since day one. It is because of you that this channel exists, and I can't be more grateful. And I want everybody out there to be fully blessed.